On paper, the two plans were identical. Same goal, same 90 days, same amount of money coming in. One of them collapsed on day 23. The other one was still running on day 90, and it had banked 3 times as much money. Here is the part that surprised me. The difference had nothing to do with discipline. The person who quit was actually the more disciplined one, and I can prove it. The entire difference came down to a single sentence written on a sticky note before the experiment even started. This January, millions of people restarted their finances. By April, 38% of them had already quit. If you have ever restarted your budget or your savings plan or your entire financial life for the 3rd or 5th or 7th time, this experiment explains why it keeps happening, and the answer is going to make you feel a lot better about yourself. My name is Victor, and on this channel we run real financial experiments so you don't have to guess. Let's talk about what the restart cycle actually costs you, because it is much more than a bruised ego. A December 2025 survey from Beyond Finance found that 83% of Americans let some or all of their financial resolutions slip last year. Only 19% held their goals for the full year, and 38% had abandoned them within the first 3 months. Now run the math on what that pattern does over a decade. Say you can save $400 a month. If you save it every month for 10 years at a 7% return, you end up with around $69,000. But almost nobody who restarts actually does that. The typical cycle looks like this: 3 good months, a bad week, a quiet quit, 5 months of nothing, a new app in January. If you only save during your motivated stretches, you are not getting $69,000. You are getting maybe $20,000, because you also lose the compounding on every dollar that never got saved during the dead months. The gap between those two numbers is not an income problem. Same person, same salary, same $400. The gap is the restart cycle itself. And there is a second cost that never shows up in a spreadsheet. Every failed restart makes the next quit easier. You can see it in the confidence data. Only 43% of adults believe they will stick to their financial resolutions in 2026. Among Gen Z, it drops to 30%. Think about that. The youngest adults, the ones with the most compounding years ahead of them, have the least belief that their own plans will survive. That is not laziness. That is scar tissue from repeated restarts. So the question I wanted to answer with this experiment is simple. If discipline is not the variable that decides whether a financial plan survives, what is? Conventional wisdom has one answer, and Marcus gave it to me before the experiment started. Marcus is the skeptic in most of our experiments, and his position was blunt. People fail because they are soft. Budgets do not quit, people quit, and any system that works around a lack of discipline is just training wheels. A lot of you probably agree with him, and honestly, the discipline story feels true because every quit looks like a personal failure from the inside. But the research tells a stranger story, and it points in 2 opposite directions at once. The first direction comes from Milkman and her colleagues at Wharton. They documented something called the fresh start effect. When people hit a temporal landmark, a new year, a birthday, a Monday, even the first of the month, motivation for big goals genuinely spikes. Gym attendance jumps. Searches for the word diet spike every January. Commitment to savings goals surges after these landmarks. So the rush you feel when you download a new budgeting app on January 1st is real. Your brain genuinely treats the new date as a clean break from the old you. Here is the problem. That same body of research shows the surge decays within weeks. It is launch fuel. It was never designed to be an engine. The second direction comes from Polivy and Peter Herman at the University of Toronto, who studied dieters and found something they called the what the hell effect. When a dieter breaks a rule once, even slightly, they tend not to course correct. They collapse. One cookie becomes the whole box because the perfect record is broken, so what the hell? Polivy and Herman also coined the term false hope syndrome, which describes people who repeatedly attempt self-change with unrealistic expectations, fail, feel terrible, and then attempt the exact same thing again. If that sounds familiar, it should. It is the restart cycle with an academic citation attached. Put those two findings together and you get my hypothesis. Financial plans do not die at the start. They die at the first miss. And since a first miss is mathematically guaranteed over a long enough window, any plan with no answer for the miss is a plan with a scheduled death date. So we built the experiment around that single variable. 2 lanes, 90 days. Same goal, rebuilding an emergency cushion. Lane 1 was the motivation restart, and Alex ran it. New budgeting app. An ambitious target of $800 a month. Daily expense logging. Pure fresh start energy. Lane 2 was the system restart, and I ran it. No daily logging at all. A $350 automatic transfer on every payday, size deliberately small so it could survive my worst month. And 1 sentence on a sticky note, written before day 1. When I miss, I do the next scheduled action. Nothing more, nothing less. That sentence is the miss protocol, and it is the entire experiment. We tracked 4 things. Money banked. Days active. The number of decisions each lane required. And most importantly, what happened at the first failure. Marcus predicted Alex would win by a mile. His exact words were, "Motivation plus a high target beats a lazy automatic transfer every time." For the first 2 weeks, Marcus looked right. Alex came out of the gate like a sprinter. She logged every single expense. She meal prepped. She canceled 2 subscriptions in the first week. By day 10, she had set aside $280, and she was ahead of her own aggressive pace. Meanwhile, my lane looked embarrassing. 1 transfer of $350 went out on payday, and then nothing happened. No app streaks. No logging. If you had checked the scoreboard on day 14, Lane 1 was winning on effort, on engagement, and on momentum. Alex told me she checked her budgeting app more often than her text messages. Day 17 is where the experiment actually started. Alex's car needed a repair. $340, due immediately, not optional. Her weekly budget was destroyed in a single transaction. And here is the moment worth studying in slow motion. The car repair did not end her plan. What ended her plan is what happened the next morning. On day 18, for the first time in 17 days, Alex did not open the app. Logging the repair meant looking at a week that was already ruined, and looking at it felt like failing, so she skipped 1 day. On day 19, she skipped again because now there were 2 days of backlog instead of 1. By day 21, the app icon had been moved off her home screen. On day 23, she told me she was done, and I want to quote her exactly because this sentence is the whole video. She said, "I will restart properly on the 1st of the month, when I can do it right." Lane 1 final numbers. $430 banked. 23 days active. Roughly 130 separate decisions made. Log or don't log, cook or order, check or avoid. And then a freeze, waiting for a clean calendar date that would make the next attempt feel legitimate. When I interviewed her afterward, Alex said something that contradicts everything Marcus predicted. She said, "I did not quit because of the car repair. I quit because being behind felt worse than quitting." Sit with that. She had 17 consecutive days of perfect tracking. That is not a lack of discipline. By any daily measure, Alex was the most disciplined person in this experiment. Her plan simply had no answer for an imperfect week, so the first imperfect week became the last week. Now, my lane. Real life stress tested me too, which is what makes this comparison fair. On day 21, my dog needed an emergency vet visit. $290. Same category of shock, same rough size, same bad week feeling. But notice what my plan asked of me the next morning. Nothing. The payday transfer had already happened days earlier. There was no backlog to face, no app avoiding me, no streak to mourn. The sticky note said, "Do the next scheduled action," and the next scheduled action was an automatic transfer that required 0 input from me. The miss protocol did not make me feel better. It made feeling better irrelevant. Day 47 brought the second test, and this one was sneakier. A light income month, meant I had planned an optional top-up of $100 and could not make it. Here is where most people sabotage themselves, and I felt the pull myself. The instinct is to double next month. Make it up. Get back on pace. The protocol forbids this, and it forbids it for a mathematical reason. Doubling raises next month's target. Raising the target raises the probability of another miss. Raising the probability of another miss is how you schedule your own collapse. So I skipped the top-up, made no compensation, and let the boring $350 floor keep running. Weeks 8 through 12 were, and I say this with pride, the most boring stretch of any experiment we have run on this channel. Money moved on payday. I did nothing. Marcus reviewed the numbers at day 60 and started getting quiet. By day 90, the final tally looked like this. Lane 2 banked $1,310. 3 automatic floor transfers totaling $1,050, plus $260 in optional top-ups during good weeks. Lane 1 sat frozen at $430. Days active, 90 versus 23. And the number I find most damning, total decisions required. Alex made about 130 decisions in 23 days. I made 4 decisions in 90 days, and 3 of them happened during the 1-hour setup on day 1. When Marcus and I did the post-mortem, I asked him to review the tape from day 17 to day 23 and tell me where Alex's discipline failed. He watched it twice. Then he said, "It didn't. She outworked you the entire time she was in the game. Her plan demanded a perfect record. Yours didn't care." That is a direct quote from the biggest discipline believer I know. So what does the data actually show? 5 things, and the first one explains why restarting feels so good. The fresh start effect is real. Milkman's research is solid, and Alex's week 1 surge was genuine. New timelines really do boost motivation. But the same research shows the boost decays within weeks, which means a fresh start is launch fuel and nothing more. Building a 90-day plan on it is like planning a road trip around the first tank of gas. Second, and this is the number I want you to remember from this entire video, the miss is not a risk. It is a certainty. Run the probability. Suppose you are extremely reliable, a 95% chance of hitting your plan on any given day. The chance of a perfect 90-day streak is 95% multiplied by itself 90 times, which comes out to roughly 1%. 1%. So any plan that requires an unbroken record has a 99% failure rate over 90 days before you even factor in car repairs and vet bills. Alex's quit was not a character flaw. It was scheduled by the structure of her plan on the day she started. If your plan only works when you are perfect, your plan does not work. Third, the what the hell effect explains the mechanism of the collapse. Polivy Herman showed that the dangerous moment is never the violation itself. It is the morning after, when facing the broken record feels worse than abandoning it. Alex skipped day 18 to avoid a bad feeling, and the avoidance compounded faster than her savings ever did. Fourth, automation wins because it removes the decision surface entirely. The classic evidence here is Madrian Shea's study of automatic enrollment in 401k plans. When one company switched from asking employees to opt in to enrolling them automatically, participation jumped from 49% to 86%. Same workers, same salaries, same match. The only thing that changed was the default. My lane did not outperform Alex because I wanted it more. It outperformed her because there was almost nothing left for me to decide. Fifth, false hope syndrome explains the targets. Alex chose $800 a month because ambition feels like commitment. But an unrealistic target is self-sabotage wearing a motivational costume. My $350 floor looked weak next to her number, and it won by a factor of 3, because a target sized for your worst month is a target that survives your worst month. And there is one more uncomfortable finding hiding in her quote about restarting on the first of the month. The restart itself is rewarding. It delivers the fresh start dopamine without requiring any of the follow-through. Which means some of us are not addicted to improving our finances. We are addicted to the feeling of beginning to improve our finances. Those are different hobbies, and only one of them compounds. So here is my honest question for you, and I actually read these. What is your restart count? How many times have you begun the same financial plan? Put the real number in the comments, because I think the average is going to shock people. Here is what to do with all of this. I call it the Never Restart Framework, and it has 4 steps. Step 1. Size your floor to your worst month, not your best. Open your last 12 months of statements and find the tightest one, the month with the car trouble or the surprise bill. Pick a savings number that would have survived that month. It will feel insultingly small. Good. Alex's impressive number lasted 23 days. My insulting number is still running. Step 2. Automate the floor on payday. The transfer has to happen before you make a single spending decision, because the entire experiment showed that the fewer decisions your plan requires, the longer it lives. If your bank allows scheduled transfers, this takes 10 minutes to set up, and those 10 minutes matter more than any budgeting app you will ever download. Step 3. Write your miss protocol before you start. 1 sentence, physically written down. When I miss, I do the next scheduled action, nothing more, nothing less. No makeup transfers. No doubling next month. No punishment saving. The protocol turns a miss from a moral event into a scheduling event, and that single reframe is the difference between day 23 and day 90. Step 4. Retire the temporal landmark. Do not start on January 1st. Do not start on Monday. Do not wait for the first of the month. Start on a random Wednesday afternoon, because a plan that needs a special date to begin will demand another special date every time you stumble, and now you know exactly how that story ends. There is a bonus metric if you want one. Stop tracking your streak and start tracking days since last restart. A streak punishes you for being human. Days since last restart rewards you for staying in the game, misses and all. And staying in the game, according to every number in this experiment, is the entire game. You do not need a new app. You do not need a stronger version of yourself. You need a smaller floor, an automatic transfer, and 1 sentence on a sticky note. Next experiment, I went through 100 millionaire portfolios looking for the thing the gurus swear is there. What I actually found in almost every single one is far more boring and far more repeatable. Subscribe so you do not miss those results. This is Victor Wealth Experiment. Subscribe and I'll see you in the next experiment.